Alright, so Monk. Combination Strike passive skill. So previously, it was increasing by 10% for 3 seconds. Now it says each spirit generator you use increase the damage of your other spirit generators by 100% for 10 seconds. So they're basically bringing that dual generator build that I actually kept with Eye of the Storm. Like the helmet Eye of the Storm is pretty rare. I would say in terms of the rarity, um, I would say that Eye of the Storm is pretty rare. The rolls are tremendously difficult for what it is different from the gaze. The token gaze for the Wave of Light. The Wave of Light helmet is so difficult to roll properly. Um, but if you haven't seen Eye of the Storm, while the number of lines are different, Eye of the Storm actually rolls very difficult to be good. And I also prefer using Eye of the Storm for the dual generator. But it is it might not be actually the right move, but I just like to talk about the Eye of the Storm um, when they brought up the dual generator build again. Crippling Wave. They're changing stuff on there for different runes doing different things, extending um, the crowd control as well as additional damage for a longer duration instead of instead of the 3 seconds. I think they're extending everything to 10 seconds, kind of like streamlining the duration a bit. So it's kind of like what is it? Your like while your focus and restraint are like what 5 seconds and stuff, these are like 10 seconds. So it just lets you kind of like time between your gameplay, um requiring less carpal tunnel or something like that, because the number of skills you have to press, the actions per minute or whatever, is like a huge thing for dual generator, for example. And so this duration extension is really helpful to reduce carpal tunnel. Item changes. Oh, funny. I mentioned frenzy, um, but I was mentioning frenzy for the letter U, right? You know, you click your own death breaths a lot, so it's good for practicing your frenzy gameplay. All right. So what is really interesting is that the Demon Hunter item changes next is something that I talked about with the Chenon Bolter as well. I was thinking of, like I always keep like Chenon Bolter, Demon's Demise, and even the bracers um that will pop up later on. Um, these items I've kept them as primal before, and like I was thinking, when are they gonna do something with that? We used to use caltrops like a long, long time ago, um, back in the Inferno days or Vanilla days, where, um, you know, uh, there was a thing to plan who was the front person, right? So let's say a barbarian is in the front, obviously. So when I play my Demon Hunter, most of the Demon Hunters played steady aim for more damage being at the back. But there were a lot of issues where I saw even better Demon Hunter players are having a hard time with Face Beast in Act 3, and then they would get one-shotted by the Face Beast. And I love Caltrops for this situation, as well as when the front person's potion is out, right? Out of potions and stuff, or like they're out of their cooldowns or something, because back then it was really tough to play cooldowns and even fury generation and whatever else, right? So caltrops exchanging positions, exchanging frontline versus mid range versus ranged. I use caltrops a lot, and like spike trap is just handy to be some build eventually. And also coming from Guild Wars Original, where there was that Urgos Warren dungeon raid that later on those trap ranger builds are so strong, and this is very reminiscent of that game if you've played it, as well as that dungeon specifically, to have that specific build played. If you've played the trap ranger build in Guild Wars Original for that dungeon, Urgos Warren, you will know that this upcoming change to Spike Trap being a thing is reminiscent of that, as well as other people who have talked about um, bringing back like tank DH and stuff like that, or like some form of trap build that they could bring into the picture. That this demon hunter changes, item changes will definitely be a thing, and I'm really happy to see this. While I haven't practiced it all myself, I'm happy to see that finally more items that aren't being used are actually um, possible, and also to change the a little bit of the meta dynamic a little bit more than just the classes, but also the sets being used. While Natalia's is, always been, you know, an issue, I think it'll be a good change to bring it back again. So there's that. Um, I'm not gonna go through like every little detail about it. I think the general idea is that a trap ranger or a trap demon hunter is going to be a thing, and we will be able to see it in the gameplay of the PTR. But I do want to look at the bracers. So previously, it was spike traps gain the impaling spines rune and deploy it twice as fast. So now it gains the scatter rune. I don't even remember. Um, and then it also deploys twice as fast, and it also deals 150. So they're adding the multipliers just like they did with Vengeful Wind and stuff like that. Um, and so this is gonna bring Natalia's with the trap demon hunter build, um which is kind of like in Diablo 2 sense it's like the trap assassin, right? So we can also bring, you know instead of bringing up Guild Wars Original, which is a different game, that if you want to bring in Diablo franchise wise, then um you know trap assassin um somewhat could be tied into this, right? The next thing amazing is that Unhell Essence will be brought up to speed finally. So I have a feeling that my friend who loves UE, and a lot of people who love UE, myself included, but not as highly respected as uh, my friends, um, in terms of pushing wise. Um, I love UE for how you manage your weapons and chest piece secondary for the max discipline, but not like for the build itself, but for how you optimize your gear. So UE is very interesting for optimization of gear. In fact, UE also teaches, you know, the secondary for max discipline for outside of UE sets, which a lot of people may not also consider, but it is important. So the fact that they're bringing UE back also teaches about max discipline on each of the slots that uh, do include max discipline. So I'm really glad that they actually took some time to look into uh, bringing back um, the UE as well. All right, we have more monk item changes, and when I saw this, or as we are reading this, uh, for people who love the when POJ first came out, it was very difficult, or it was more difficult, and it was also very technical. Um, I didn't play it. I actually stopped playing right before POJ, and so for those that love POJ, well, POJ is definitely going to be a thing, and more of a thing because of the increase, and it will also help with pushing the super high end, and it will also level the playing field between um, pushing offsets and the actual sets um, by a few tiers. So it's cool that they're bringing the other offsets into um, possibly to show better on the overall leaderboard instead of just the specific set leaderboard. And just now they did a bit of the dual generator, and also the raiment is going to be very wild because it was and has been known as the fastest. Now that they reduce the cost even more, it's basically it's almost tying into why or how some people use the Donata set for vaulting. This is like you know the other way to do it, as well as Aether Walker, like in line with Wizards Aether Walker teleporting. This makes everything like blend in together properly, um being a little bit like fair in the cost sense, but in terms of the speed of the like the build or the mobility, this like this skyrockets this even farther than most, which it was already the fastest, and now it's even faster. The thing that makes this cool is the balancing of the cost between certain items for other classes where their mobility is set with like around the same cost, um, being like the Aether Walker and stuff like that. So this changed for the four piece bonus lines up with the cost that Aether Walker does for the teleport, for example. So it's just like, to me, that's the highlight of it. But the biggest overall overarching fact is that this now makes it like not only the fastest, but it's like no one can beat it, right? That kind of thing. But I think this is just equalizing between the other mobility stuff in terms of costs. That's all. Um, the next one looks like, if for those that who have played season 22, for the Necromancer, the Bone Spear Necro is back. So uh, this one, this is gonna make speed runs look like a joke. Speed runs will be a joke. Um, I mean, I didn't play it, but my friend did. Who uh who played it? Uh, yeah, many friends of mine have played it, and like they just do GR 120 as though it's GR 90. And so what this is doing, especially even for the next one where it says the Wizard Hydra are now doing twice as much now. They are to me, honestly, the overarching thing about the last two changes between the Necro and the Wizard while they haven't listed Crusader and Witch Doctor, for example, um, is that I feel like these last two changes at the bottom here, with the damage increase, um, first of all, Necro is back to season 22, roughly speaking. Um, and then what is this actually doing? Okay, let's put it this way. What is it actually doing with this revert, so to speak, and the increase of the Hydra is that they're trying to streamline what happened with season 27 with the Shadow Impale being one of the many classes, one of the builds for doing speed runs, like doing the GR 114 through 120 or even higher speed runs. Is that um, they're trying to bring back some of the different classes so that people who choose to play or prefer playing a stronger class such as a Necromancer get to do the same thing while not getting bored of the Demon Hunter, because the Demon Hunter is more for key farming or for some other gameplay, right? And so they don't really want to play like one class that does it all kind of thing. And so they brought back the season 22 Bone Spear Necro to streamline the speed run towards more classes. So they're trying to get as many classes to be able to do like 114 through 120 as best they can. And the Necromancer in season 22 was like, I guess, one of the craziest at the time. Before we saw this Shadow Impale being pretty crazy. I mean, in between season 22 and 27, there are several different ones that also, you know, managed to put the speed run into action, such as the Raekor rework. The Raekor can do 115 pretty quickly. It is squishy, but Raekor played reasonably well, can do 115 very quickly, even two man. Okay, even two man it's very fast. So they're trying to streamline, bringing back the Bone Spear Necro from season 22 that could do GR 120 like as though it's GR 90, which also means that people who start out Necromancer for the Corpse Explosion build, um, I mean for the Corpse Explosion for group play, like myself starting Necro that one season for group play, uh, can actually stay as a Necro if you can just do GR 120 like that with the Bone Spirit Necro, right? So so there's that. So that's where the this is the this is the part where it streamlines the speed runs to multiple classes instead of just playing the Demon Hunter. That, you know, if you've played Demon Hunter for like, let's say 8 seasons, and you're tired of it and you really want to play a different class, then you have the Necro again. Where or if you are interested in more classes anyway, then you know how to branch out yourself in such a way that you have a Necro, it can do speed runs as well. Then you can enjoy speed runs in a different way. And also, when you're loot sharing with other people, you don't have to play the same a different class just because of the speed, right? Of the speed that one build has. Now there are more builds for each class respectively that you can loot share with your friends who want to play their class that is their favorite class. So if someone is a Necro and you have a Necro and you know how to play the speed run with the Necro with GR 120 acting as a GR 90, then you can still loot share in the right way, rather than needing to like purposefully um have every class or whatever, right? So this is like somewhat streamlining GR 120 for more classes than just the Shadow Impale, especially if the seasonal theme is done, right? Then we need some form of sets, the set items, just like Season 26, to be able to perform speed runs without a seasonal theme like this Season 27. So hopefully that, you know, bringing back the Season 22, for those that played it with the Bone Spear thing, this is the reason. They're trying to streamline without needing seasonal theme like this season, where you can do GR120 like a joke for loot sharing and for the interest of others that play different classes and not needing to play some class that they don't enjoy. They can play the Necromancer straight through if they've already played Necromancer in the first place, or if their favorite character is the Necromancer, then the Necromancer is back with the Bone Spear Necro being able to do GR120 like GR90. And then for me personally, like the Hydra, um, I love to do Avarice Conquest with the Hydra as well, or even Speed Demon, and this increase helps with that. And also when I do a GR90 with the Typhoon Hydra, all I change is Boon of the Hoarder to Stricken. So with this change, I can do GR90 clearly now without taking too long, without using the actual push build where you need to use the Winter's Flurry and Blizzard skill in your skill bar. You can actually use the Speed T16 to do a GR90 just by changing Boon of the Hoarder and Stricken. So hopefully that sums up the last two classes so far, and hopefully that they will add eventually the two missing classes, such as the Crusader and the Witch Doctor. For the Witch Doctor, I really hope that they can bring back, um, instead of set changes, there could be um, they could be like, well, aside from set changes, they should do item changes where they would bring back well, not but they should, perhaps consider, um, because of the in the rites of sanctuary, the altar of rites stuff, and the seal powers and stuff, the seal power that has the health globe thing. I feel like, imagine, I guess it's gonna be a little broken, but imagine if the zombie dogs build is back. That would be very beneficial with that health globe um seal, for example. So uh I'm I'm quite I have an interesting, like, I have a feeling that that might be something that could be looked at, is that the zombie dogs builds could come up for the health globes, uh and I hope you guys enjoyed this. um let's um let's end it here with that, because this is the end of the initial PTR notes. I didn't refresh to see if there's any other changes. I guess I should try to refresh this, and see if there's anything that they added, right? Did they do anything? Let's see. Did they do anything in particular? Not yet. Not yet. So there's no Crusader and Witch Doctor yet, but it might pop up, it might not, which is gonna be very unfortunate. All right. Well, this is the end of the PTR rough discussion. I have had like one or two mistakes in my roadmap here for letter Y, because of how AC I mean how the legendary potions are, uh, legendary potions, those special potions are like in the roadmap, where you have to have two in row 7 to be able to get row 8. So this is my thing where I also messed up N. So Y comes before N is basically that, and then the rest will have to roll forward as well, depending on what you do. And my favorite one is X. Well, one of my true favorite is X. And to repeat again what X is, um, and to repeat what X is, it's where it helps the pets pick up and salvage the stuff, all the common, magic, and rare, right? So for me, I like to farm I like to farm the regular rift, right? I like to farm the Battlefield of Eternity for the armor racks. So when I click the armor racks, it actually helps me with um picking up all of it and salvaging at the same time. So my inventory space is always cleaner, which helps me because I also TP back to town like once or twice for Battlefield of Eternity, right? So you want to be able to maximize the efficiency where I wasn't as efficient. So X is super super um, effective in supporting me to play more smoothly, especially for those maps that I want to uh, pick up materials outside of doing bounties. So the only downside about X is how valuable is O, right? So O messes up a bit of your materials reliance to X. So that also puts X lower, which is another reason why U could be 13 and X being 16. But depending on whether you do a lot of O or a lot of X, that is the question. So, so ultimately speaking, between O, U, and X, that is like also a thing, which is pretty crazy. All right. So now we're gonna change to pushing, but I'll take a break